Hey there everyone. So in this video I'm going to show you how to use enharmonic respelling of a German augmented sixth chord to modulate smoothly with a pivot chord between two keys that are a half step away. So first, just a very quick review. A German augmented sixth is from a family of chords. We call them chromatic predominants. A chromatic predominant chord is a chord that's going to resolve to 5. That's the predominant part. And it's going to have one or both of the scale degrees that are a half step away from 5. So flat 6 or sharp 4. So you think about your modally borrowed minor 4 chord or 2 half diminished. They both have flat 6 in it. So those are, at least in a major key, would be considered chromatic predominants using modal mixture. And then you have your 5 of 5 or 7 diminished of 5, which has scale degree sharp 4 in it. And that is uses tonicization or applied harmony. Well, you can put both those things together and you end up getting this flat 6 and sharp 4, and the interval between them is an augmented sixth, hence the name augmented sixth chords. You may have noticed when you learned the German augmented sixth, which has sharp 4, flat 6, 1, and it also has flat 3, that it sounds and looks just like a dominant seventh chord when you play it on the piano. And so composers obviously noticed that too. And they discovered that if you respelled one or more of the notes in the German augmented sixth and harmonically, that you could get a 5-7 chord in a key that's a half step away. So, in the key of C minor, we have flat 6, 1, flat 3, and sharp 4. If we respell the sharp 4, F sharp, as G flat, we have an A flat, C, E flat, G flat chord, which is the 5-7 in the key of D flat. So now we can use that as a pivot chord. So let's take a look at how this would look in resolution, in voice leading. As a reminder, where the voices want to resolve in a German augmented sixth chord, flat sixth at the same time as sharp 4 resolves outwards to 5. The flat 3 and 1 are held onto or suspended, and then they resolve downward by step. And so you're just going directly to a 5 chord. However, you're delaying rhythmically 2 of the notes to avoid the dreaded parallel fifths. So here's how that looks and sounds in the key of C minor. And so I labeled this cadential 6-4 both ways. There's both very valid ways of writing it, describing it as a 1-6-4 resolving to 5, or saying that this is all a 5 chord and you have neighboring motion above it, 6 to 5 and 4 to 3. And here's how that same chord would resolve if we respelled it as it should in D flat. So let's just listen to this whole line. You'll hear the chord, and then you'll hear it resolve like a German augmented sixth to a cadential 6-4. And then you'll hear it resolve as a 5 chord. So let's take a look at how this would appear in an actual phrase. So I've started a phrase here. This is an example of using the German augmented sixth as a predominant without modulating. So 1, I tonicize 4, go to the 4 chord. That's my first part of my first predominant chord. Then the German augmented sixth, then it resolves as just as it does up here to the cadential 6-4. And now, if I, instead of doing what our ear would expect when we arrive on the chord to happen, which is what happens here, if I respell it and then resolve it in a new key, the surprise will happen for the listener on this chord, and then in hindsight they'll say, oh, I guess that must have been a 5-7 chord, hence, which is the experience always of any pivot chord modulation, is when you arrive on the chord, it makes sense to your ear in the key that you're in, and after you've left it and moved on to a new chord in the new key, in hindsight it makes sense in that new key, and so you have this dual experience of the chord. And so here's how this sounds if we modulate. And there you have it.